Welcome to Afghanistan's fish rankings for Thursday, July 17th. Several British media outlets have reported that after the list of Afghan collaborators with British forces was published and leaked in 2022, the UK secretly included thousands of Afghans from that list and transferred them to the country. After these reports were published, some Taliban members told the British newspaper The Telegraph that the release of this list had helped them identify and track down these individuals. Please pay attention to this exclusive report on the subject.
The personal details of nearly 19,000 people who had applied to be relocated to Britain after the Taliban took control of Afghanistan were accidentally leaked by a British official in February 2022. The leaked information included names, contact numbers, and family details of individuals who were likely at risk from the Taliban. The British Ministry of Defence believes that 600 Afghan soldiers whose sensitive information was leaked, along with more than 1,000 of their family members, are still in Afghanistan. John Healey, the British Defence Minister, has said that he cannot say with certainty whether anyone has been killed as a result of the widespread leak of information that revealed the details of thousands of Afghans who supported British forces. He emphasized that it is highly unlikely that being listed in this database now increases the risk of being targeted by the Taliban. One of the individuals whose details were exposed in this list has spoken on the condition of anonymity. Although he is currently outside Afghanistan, he is still worried about his own future and that of his family in Afghanistan.
Now I am scared, and I am dissatisfied and worried about my life, my future, and what is happening. If I am sent back, if I am deported to Afghanistan, I will definitely be killed along with my family.
The daughter of one of the Afghan interpreters whose information was leaked said that her entire family is terrified.
Today was a frightening day for my family. My father received a message at around 1 o'clock at night and an email about the data leak. When he read it, he suddenly became anxious and we all got worried. We were thinking about what had happened. He showed me the email, and when I read it, I understood what was going on. 5 minutes later, he received another email saying that he should personally check whether his information had been leaked or not. When he tried his registration number at the Ministry of Defense, a few seconds later the response was that there was a high probability his information had been leaked. He immediately started trembling and became frantic. We quickly called his doctor at the Veterans Mental Health Services, and she taught him some techniques to practice. He suffers severely from post-traumatic stress disorder and has currently isolated himself upstairs in his house.
After the information of these 19,000 Afghans was published on the social network Facebook, the former Conservative government of Britain became aware of the issue in August 2023. The special court order that had banned reporting on the leak of this information was lifted on Tuesday this week. Justice Chamberlain, the judge who issued this order, says that an internal review by the UK Ministry of Defence has shown that the Taliban likely already have access to the key information, and confirming its existence is unlikely to significantly increase the risk. John Healey, the UK Defence Secretary, says that lifting this court order now allows for comprehensive reporting and thorough investigation. Ben Wallace, the former Defense Secretary, has said that the purpose of issuing the court order at the time was to protect Afghan citizens, not to protect the then Conservative government of which he was a senior member. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, said during Wednesday's parliamentary session that former Conservative government ministers face serious questions regarding the leak of information about thousands of Afghans who supported British forces, and they must provide answers.
We had previously warned about the Conservative Party's management of this policy. On Monday, the Defense Minister outlined the full extent of the shortcomings we inherited. A major data leak, a confidential court order, and a secret route that has cost hundreds of millions of pounds so far. Ministers who served in the opposition party's government now face serious questions about how they allowed all this to happen.
On Tuesday, the British government emailed those whose information had been leaked, asking them to act cautiously, take steps such as protecting their online activities, and not respond to messages from unknown sources. On Tuesday, the British Defence Minister told Parliament that the person responsible for the leak is no longer serving in that role and offered a sincere apology on behalf of the Ministry of Defence. However, British officials have so far not said whether the person responsible for the leak has faced any disciplinary action. The leader of the Conservative Party has also apologized on behalf of his party. Following the leak of these Afghans' information, 9 months later, the British government launched a secret plan to resettle those whose information had been exposed. So far, 4,500 people have entered Britain through this program. The transfer of 19 former British Forces colleagues along with 3,600 of their family members through this program has so far cost around £400 million, and the final cost is expected to be about £850 million.
A human rights organization working in Iran says that the arrest of Sarah Gowari, an Afghan student majoring in sociology at the University of Tehran, is part of Iran's deliberate policy to silence voices and suppress independent narratives. It concerns the treatment of Afghan migrants and their situation. Before her arrest, Sarah Gowari had announced on her Instagram page that she intended to travel to the border region of Taybad to conduct independent research on the situation of Afghan migrants. Please pay attention to our exclusive report on this matter.
The Henga Human Rights Organization says that the arrest of Sarah Gowhari, an Afghan sociology student at Tehran University, is part of Iran's deliberate policy to silence voices and suppress independent narratives. It concerns how Afghan migrants are treated and their situation. Gila Mostager, a board member of this independent Iranian organization based in Norway, said on Wednesday, July 16th, that this issue is believed to be related to a research project that Sarah Gowhari was supposed to conduct about the situation of Afghan migrants at the Taybad border. She also said that, in addition to this case, they have recently received numerous reports of arbitrary detentions of Afghan migrants in Iran, and there is no information available about the situation of these Afghans.
It's absolutely part of a systematic crackdown on Afghan migrants, which, of course, is meant to stay under the radar. With what brutality Iran is illegally and on a massive scale, and with violence, deporting and expelling refugees to Afghanistan. And what crimes are being committed at these borders, in the camps set up for the temporary detention and deportation of these people to Afghanistan. What crimes are happening in those places?
Ms. Mostager also reported the disappearance of Gulnesa, a 15-year-old Afghan migrant girl in Iran, saying that there is no information about her fate and that their investigation into the matter is ongoing. In a statement released on July 16th by the Henga Human Rights Organization, it was stated that Sarah Gowari, who is 29 years old, was arrested by Iranian Ministry of Intelligence Forces on July 6th, and so far, her family's efforts to obtain information about her condition or whereabouts have yielded no results. The statement goes on to say that prior to her arrest, Sarah Gowari had announced on her Instagram page that she intended to travel to the border region of Taybad to conduct independent research on the situation of Afghan migrants. Iranian authorities have so far not commented on the arrest of Sarah Gowari. The arrest of this student has taken place at a time when, according to human rights organizations, there is widespread pressure from the Iranian government and negative public attitudes toward Afghan migrants in that country. Some Afghans who have recently been deported from Iran have complained about mistreatment and violence by Iranian security forces. They say that in the camps in that country, they have been severely beaten, insulted, and humiliated. Hayenda, one of the Afghans who was deported from Tehran, spoke about this.
My whole body is black and bruised. My friend was bitten by a soldier. They even told me, "We should tear your flesh off with our teeth worn out. Let me take your sorrows for your friends. Honestly, my flesh is torn and my hand is red." People really cause a lot of trouble. If you even speak, they hit you on the head with their teeth. Wherever you die, you're still alive. Inside one of the camps, someone died right in front of my eyes for being beaten so much. I swear to God.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, has also recently stated that Afghans who returned to their country from Iran and Pakistan had their cash and belongings taken during detentions and faced mistreatment in detention centers. The UNHCR has described the wave of Afghan deportations as unprecedented, stating that in the first 6 months of this year, about 1.3 million Afghans returned from Iran to Afghanistan.
Iranian officials say that the process of returning Afghan migrants is facing challenges. According to these officials, some individuals, because they lack any form of identification, are not accepted by the Taliban either. Please pay attention to our exclusive report on this matter.
They were waiting in there until their identities could be verified.
He is one of the Afghans who returned from Iran to Afghanistan. A few years ago, he had gone to Iran to find work, but recently he was deported from that country. He, who did not want his name mentioned in the report due to the sensitivity of the issue, said that the Taliban inspect the returning Afghans and interrogate some people for hours for not having their identity cards.
Where is your ID card? I left both of my ID cards at home. We ourselves, my brother and I, came through smuggling routes because Iran had given us a job. They checked that during the inspection. They inspected us. After that, for the reasons they had, I saw up to 3 families who didn't have ID cards or other documents. They also inspected the situation to see where these people had come from. I would wait for 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes even up to 3 hours.
This problem, in addition to those who have returned to Afghanistan, has also worried Afghans who have lived in Iran for more than 20 years and whose children lack Afghan identity documents or ID cards. Nasir Ahmad, one of these Afghans whose 4 children were born in Iran, said about this.
None of my 4 children have ID cards. 3 of them were born in Iran. I'm worried that they'll face problems because of this. Being at the border, I'm afraid they'll get caught up in trouble. If anyone tries to separate from them, if any problem comes up, you start to worry that.
Meanwhile, Saeed Malek Hosseini, the Deputy for Entrepreneurship Development and Employment at Iran's Ministry of Cooperatives, Labor and Social Welfare, has said that the process of Afghan migrants returning faces challenges. On Sunday, the 22nd of Sarataan, in a press conference with Iranian media, he stated that some of these individuals, because they lack any form of identification, are not even accepted by the Taliban. Abdul Matin Kaniai, spokesperson for the Taliban's Ministry of Interior, did not respond to questions regarding the inspection of Afghans for having identity cards or tazkira. According to some observers, although these inspections by the Taliban are considered a security and preventive measure, in practice they can cause delays and confusion in the process of Afghans returning at the borders. Meanwhile, a number of returning Afghans at the Islam Kala border recently said that from the time they left Iran until they reached Afghanistan, they faced numerous problems. They spoke of arbitrary detentions by the police and mistreatment by some Iranians towards Afghan migrants, and also complained about the lack of facilities, including identity checks, at the Islam Kala border. The Afghans who have returned to Afghanistan say that, in addition to not having identity documents, they have faced a lack of shelter, food, and medical facilities after their return. Despite repeatedly emphasizing these issues, no one has addressed their problems. The Islamic Relief Organization, referring to the return of Afghan migrants from Iran, reported on Friday, July 11th, that from the beginning of May-June this year until this date, more than 450,000 Afghans have returned from Iran to Afghanistan. The organization added that around 35,000 people, a significant number of whom are women and children, enter Afghanistan from the Iranian border every day, and this population increase has put severe pressure on local services in Afghanistan. It is worth mentioning that Afghans who, over the past 4 decades, have gone to Iran due to various problems, including lack of work, have started families there and had children. Now, their children have grown up and still do not have Afghan identity cards or tazkira.
Reports from Afghanistan indicate that in this hot weather, the lack of sufficient electricity has reduced ice production in Afghanistan. Some officials from ice production factories in Nangarhar province say that due to continuous power outages, they will soon be forced to halt their factory operations. Please pay attention to our exclusive report on this matter.
Every day in America, you face losses of up to 50,000, and with this system, your factories will end up shutting down.
These words were shared by Nanjialai Staniksai, the owner of one of the ice production factories in Jalalabad city, Nangarhar province. He claims that out of 24 hours, they experience power outages for 14 hours. Mr. Staniksai adds that because of this, their work faces many problems.
I used to produce about 10,000 blocks of ice a day.
we produced nearly 10,000 blocks of ice daily. But now, due to the lack of electricity, we can't produce as much. Our electricity is cut off from 7:30 in the evening until 7:30 in the morning. During the day, too, we are without power for 1 to 2 hours. In such a situation, we are facing many problems and cannot supply a large amount of ice to the market.
We could only offer a small amount to the market.
And he says that the Nangarhar municipality, which is under Taliban administration, has set the price of ice for them 3 times in 1 month. Once, they said that each block of ice must be sold for 50 Afghanis. Another time, they set it at 47 Afghanis, and the third time at 37 Afghanis. He adds that using diesel-powered electricity, they cannot produce enough ice to supply the market at the price set by the Taliban municipality in this province. Haji Muhammad Arif, the owner of another ice factory in Jalalabad city, is facing a similar problem.
They had promised us 10 hours of electricity in 24 hours. But now, even those 10 hours have been reduced to 8. The lack of electricity has caused a shortage of power in Jalalabad and the surrounding districts. The main issue is that there is no electricity.
The ice factory owners union in Nangarhar also confirms this problem. Sangar Mahmad, the head of this union, said,
"Right now, the power is only enough to run the water pumps.
Currently, we have 8 hours of electricity and 14 hours of outage. Because of this, our production has decreased. With generators, we can't produce as much ice as we did with electricity. The generators also overheat. With this situation, the price of ice is also going up.
The price is increasing too."
According to him, there are currently 37 ice production factories operating in Nangarhar, which together produce about 90,000 blocks of ice daily. Based on information from the Nangarhar Ice Factory Owners Union, on Tuesday, the 24th of Saratan, each block of ice was sold in the Nangarhar market for 47 Afghanis. To get the opinion of the Nangarhar Electricity Department officials, which is under the administration of the Taliban government, regarding this issue. However, Zahir Omar, the spokesperson for this department, did not respond to questions on this matter. Previously, in other areas as well, factory owners had described the lack of electricity as a serious obstacle to their production. In the summer season, in hot provinces like Nangarhar, people's need to buy ice increases because many families, due to economic difficulties, do not have refrigerators at home. And even those who do have them are forced to buy ice from the market because of frequent power outages. Ice factory officials say that if their electricity problems are resolved, their production will increase, and in the summer, more people will have access to ice at a more reasonable price.
That concludes the news.